welcome back to the channel. This week this tutorial is going to be for a pair of retro inspired pants that have a really dramatic flare on the bottom. Now the patterns I've used to create these pants I created on a platform called iClo, and they are the sponsor of today's video. iClo has successfully integrated artificial intelligence in fashion design to make the whole experience more user-friendly and inclusive despite of your background, your body shape, or your experience. I'm going to be sharing more on that later on in this video, so if you'd like to see how I made these pants, created the patterns, and the final outcome in the end, make sure to keep on watching. To go onto the iClo website and create an account. You can create an account from anywhere you are in the world because it's based online. Once you have your account created, you'll be asked to add your measurements. Now there are different measurements that I recommend you take on yourself or on your client or whoever you want to make the pattern for, and these measurements are then used to create an avatar. This avatar you can really rotate around, see it in like a three-dimensional form. So when you have your avatar, you go onto the design options that they have on the website, and these are actually expanding to include plus size designs as well. So say I want to make this flare pants, I'm going to choose pants. I'm going to go in there and customize the fit around the waist, around the hips, how wide I want the bottom to be. Really make those customizations to my design preference, and once I am done, it gives you a flat lay of what the pattern looks like. On the right side of the screen next to your pattern preview, you would see pattern measures, and if you click on that, you are able to go in to actually see where key parts of your pattern measure in either inches or centimeters. I highly recommend you double check this with your measurement, ensure that there is enough ease in there as well, so you know once you save, download and use this pattern, you'll be happy with the fit. You can also go ahead to print it on A4 or A0 paper, so you end up with a PDF pattern that you can save or download and use for your sewing project. I plan to save this and reuse this in the future because I think the design is actually really cool. I'm going to leave their website down below, and if you join any of the 3 subscription plans, which go from a free one that gives you access to 3 free downloads to a monthly subscription of $24.90 where you have unlimited pattern downloads, or the annual subscription of $199.90 where you get unlimited downloads and it's like a more affordable option on the monthly subscription, you can actually get 50% off of that. I'm going to leave a link down below for you, go check that out. And to get the 50% off, all you have to do is when you are making your payment, you click on the auto renewal option, and this is valid for 3 months. I would love to know your thoughts if you do try it out. I think it's a clever platform, and I know they are currently expanding their range of designs and including plus size designs in there as well. So it's truly user-friendly, inclusive, and something that will save you a lot of time if you create clothes very often. These are all of the pages printed out for the pattern. I'm just going to go ahead and assemble everything all together. The front of the pattern comes with this like layout that gives you an idea of where pieces are meant to go. So these are the number of pattern pieces here and the number of A4 pages that I will need to print. I think I need to print 52 pages and then join everything together, which I've already started. It's a very big pattern piece and I've tried to fit it on my table. So I'm like 30% in. That's my progress so far. So you can see the bottom of one side, the top of another side, the bottom of another side, and there are like little labelings here for the different pattern pieces. So this is the back left, that is the back right. So it's interesting to see that they've created separate pattern piece for like the back, so that like the back has both left and right, and the front has left, and then the right is on the bottom of the page. Normal me, I would just do one piece for the front, one piece for the back, and then mirror that, but each pattern piece is separate. So this I'm going to finish up, and then the pattern already has seam allowance included here, as you can see. So I'm just going to cut along this edge there, cut out all of the pattern pieces, and then move on to the next step. Cutting and joining the A4 pages to create the full pattern pieces took me about 3 hours, so it took a bit of time, but I just put on some music and just assembled everything in a way that all of the lines matched together and was ready to actually be used to cut the fabric. I'm going to be using this blue denim fabric that from afar looks like patchwork, but up close is just denim that has been created or woven in such a way to look like patchwork. I have a total of 2.5 meters here. I got this from my fabric dossier the UK. I'm going to link this down below. So this I'm going to use to cut the patterns I've just created, that I've printed and joined together. And I think I'm going to actually add a pair of pockets, so like pockets on the front, and I'm going to add belt loops. These are totally optional, but I think pockets just make the wearing experience even more cool, and belt loops I can go in and dress it up with different colors of belts in terms of styling later on in the year. I'm going to go in to create a simple patch pocket pattern, and I folded a piece of A4 paper in half like so, and my pocket is going to be 6 inches tall and 5 inches wide. It's going to be straight on top and have a slightly pointed edge at the bottom. This you can do rounded or just a good old square if you want. I'm going in here to draw half of that pattern because my paper is on a fold, so I want the symmetry to be the same on both sides, hence why I'm doing it this way. Now I'm just going to gauge the bottom edge of this other side and then mark 1 inch above the hemline if it was going to be a square, and draw in a point that connects the 6-inch point on the folded edge to the 1-inch raise on the side, so I have this shape. Now on the top edge I'm adding 2 centimeters because I want to be able to fold in the top edge of my pocket neatly, and then a 1 cm seam allowance on the side and the bottom edges. This I'm just going to go ahead to add my annotations, a grain line, and cut out the pattern piece. Once it's been cut on this side, I know I just have to go ahead and mirror the same lines on the other side. Now the belt loop pattern itself is 3.5 inches tall and 1.5 inches wide. It's always nice to make your belt loops a little bit wider than your waistband, so I went in and made sure that the belt loop pattern itself was, it worked with the waistband. Now I've pinned in my pattern pieces and I'm cutting out my pants, and I just decided to use one side of the front and one side of the back rather than use all 4 different pieces that it had. So I just cut a pair of front, a pair of back, and I have everything ready to be stitched together. Now I have my front and back pieces which look like so, and then I have my belt loops. I've cut a total of 5 belt loop pieces. I also have the pocket, the patch pocket, and I just cut 2, and this is going to actually sit on the front. You can place yours on the back if you want. And then the last set of pieces here are my waistband, and I just cut a pair of those, which I'm going to be attaching to the waistline of my pants. The first step I'm going to do in terms of sewing is transferring the dart point from the pattern paper onto the wrong side of the fabric, and this I'm marking with a chalk. I've already notched away the dart itself along the waistline, so I know once I match the notched edges along the waistline, indicating how much of my dart I need to stitch away, I just pin it up onto the dart point. This I'm going to do on both sides of the front and sew away the darts. After sewing the darts, I just went ahead to overlock the crouch seam and the side seam of my front pieces, and I'm putting right sides together like so. And this I'm going to be sewing on a 1 centimeter seam allowance, since I'm not putting the zip on the center front but on the side of my pants. Now that I have my full front piece connected and joined together, the next thing I'm going to do is actually sew the patch pockets, and I have a pocket piece here. This I have overlocked around the edges, and I'm going to be folding in the top by 2 centimeters, which is how much I left on the top, and then the sides and the bottom edges by 1 centimeter, and just sewing that so it secures the raw overlocked edge on the inside of the pocket, and even while I wear it, I won't have raw threads and things just like unraveling themselves. I'm going to repeat the same for both pockets before going ahead to place the pocket on the front of my pants. Now my pocket sits 2.5 inches below the center front edge, like so below the waistline, and about 3.5 inches away from that front crouch line. I spent a bit of time moving things around to make sure that they were symmetrical and they sat in a way that I liked, because you want the left and the right pocket to mirror each other when you have it on, especially because it's on front of my pants. After pinning it in place, I'm just going in here to stitch the patch pocket along the edges and leaving the top end open so I can actually put my hand in and out of my pocket. This I'm doing for this side, and I'll repeat for the other side of my pants. With both pockets stitched on the front of my pants, I'm going to move on to the next step, which is actually working on the back pant pieces. And like I did for the front, I transferred the dart point from the pattern onto the waistline. I've pinned it away, as well as pin that crouch seam ready to be stitched together. This I'm just going to sew using a normal straight stitch. Remember to secure it at the beginning and at the end with a reverse stitch. I pressed it nicely, overlocked the side seams as well as our crouch seam before going ahead to put right sides together of my front and my back pants. It's important to note where you want to put your side seam, and I'm right-handed, so I just put a pin on the side that I want to leave open for my side zip. So the other sides I'm going to stitch closed. So the inner leg or the inseam I'm going to sew, and then the other side I'm going to sew, and I'm going to leave the top edge of the side where I want my side zip to sit, that I'm going to leave open because I want to fix an invisible zip later on in this project. So now that this is all done, the next thing I'm going to do is focus on working on the waistband. The first thing I did was fusing the waistband with interfacing on the wrong side of the fabric, and I've put right sides together, and I'm going to go ahead to sew the top edge, press that with the interfacing tucked away inside, and then I folded in the bottom edges by 1 centimeter, ready for me to sew to the waistline. Now the waistband I'm going to join in 2 steps. I'm going to join it first in this step with 1 continuous stitch. This way I'm able to hide this seam when I go ahead to do the next step of folding the other side of the waistband to conceal the seam and have a beautiful finish on the inside and on the outside of my pants. With that all stitched, this is what my waistband is looking like. I gave it a nice press to relax all of the stitching. The waistband works because the waistline of the pants was curved, so by the time I stitched it in, everything laid nice and flat. Next up, I'm actually going to be sewing the belt loops. I'm going to fold the wrong side inwards and have a folded edge on one side of this piece like so, and after stitching it down on the folded edge, I went back in with another stitch, so I have 2 stitches across the belt loop. I repeated that for all 5 of them because I want 1 belt loop on where the dart sits on the front, on the back, and then 1 on the center back edge. So 1 is going to sit on this front dart like so, folding in the bottom and the top edges. Sewing this thing on a domestic machine can be challenging, so I was very thankful for my industrial machine at this point, because I went in first to sew the bottom edges like so, and then I'm going to go to the top edge, fold it in, and then stack it down. I'm going to sew this one up, sew the second one that sits above the second front dart, 1 on the back side here, and then 1 that sits on the center back, and 1 that sits on the other side of the back. So I ended up with 5 belt loops. It's a slim belt loop, so I know I will have to wear this with like slim belts in the future if I decide to dress this up with a belt. Now the second to last step is to add a zip. I'm going to be stitching in a navy blue invisible zip on the open side seam. you can use any zip that complements your fabric. Mine happens to be navy blue, and I have a separate tutorial showing how to properly stitch in invisible zips so they're actually invisible in your seam. And it just worked really well with this design because the overall fit of these pants are on the loose or the relaxed side. The only thing that's fitted on this pants is the actual waistband. Everywhere else is really nice and comfy. The final step is folding and hemming the bottom of the pants, and the pants has a generous seam allowance of 2 inches, which I tucked away and finished up my pants with. This is the project all done. I just love how comfortable these pants are. They're very comfortable, very fashion forward as well, and it's something that works really well for this time of the year because I compare it with loose tops, jumpers, even something a bit more fitted. I could also wear this in the spring or the summer with a crop top and even like A-line top. I think it would work really well too. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts and comments down below. If you also recreate this, don't forget to tag me on social media. Don't forget to check out the iClo website because I think it's such an incredible platform and something that will save us a lot of time for us creators that create garments very often. But with that said, until next time, have a good morning, afternoon and evening wherever you are. Bye.